In that case, Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we modify the agenda to put special presentation at least until after public comment and give the sheriff time to show up.
Well, let's place it, actually, if everyone's okay with it, in between item 8 and 9, after the consent agenda.
I amend my motion to go between 8 and 9.
All right, second. All right, motion second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. I will now proceed with public comment. This is an opportunity for all members of the public to address the City Council on any and all issues not specifically stated in our consent agenda tonight or our regular agenda. So the items that will be discussed and have public comment of their own later will be check register for the last 2 weeks, resolution 2020-01, airport hangar lease rent increase, that's on consent. And then in public hearing, abandoned and distressed real property ordinance 565. That'll have its own public comment period. And then on new business, there's none. Old business, discussion and possible action regarding public works loader replacement. So if any member comes up, state your name, Dunsmuir address if you have one for the record, and you'll be allowed 3 minutes each. Again, it's items not on this agenda as mentioned.
Excuse me. I was just advised, Mr. Mayor, that Sergeant Murphy had to do a fly out to Washington, D.C. on a worksheet thing, and he will not be here tonight, and he will make it at the next meeting.
Move to table. Excellent.
So I'll make a motion. Second.
Okay. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Tell him we wish him well in his endeavors. Look forward to seeing him.
And thanks for not leaving us hanging.
All right.
Hi, thank you. Paris Petrick, Shasta Avenue. Council, it's come to my attention that the treasurer of the city does not attend these meetings and then reports on things that happen in the meeting in social media. And I think it would behoove everyone if the treasurer would be here. And I'm just curious, I'm not asking for you to give me an answer, but I'm curious why he is not present for these meetings. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further public comment?
Hello, my name's Cindy Foreman. I reside at 4116 Siskiyou Avenue here in Dunsmuir. I'm here tonight to provide the City Council with changes that have been made at the Chamber of Commerce and to include an update on some of our future plans and goals. Thank you. We're currently in the process of hiring an executive director. The position will be limited to 18 hours a week due to limited funds. At our board meeting on 2/4, Luann Beagle was placed in the position of our interim executive director and will be working Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays most weeks, unless something comes up that keeps her elsewhere. At our board meeting on 2/4, I was placed in the position of interim chamber board president. And I will do my best.
Yay!
We are thrilled to announce that we have 2 new highly qualified board members that have joined us. Mark Rowley, who joins us with over 30 years of experience in business and multiple civic positions, business owner, education trustee, Chamber of Commerce president for 4 separate terms, economic development, etc., and the list goes on. I don't have time for all of them, but we're thrilled to have Mark. Sandra Hood joins us also with many years of hard work in Dunsmuir, 15 years on the Railroad Committee, Dunsmuir Friends of the Library, Dunsmuir Site Council, co-managed Growers Market, and Citizen of the Year Committee. So we're so thrilled and happy to have those 2 people join us, and that will strengthen our chamber. We have decided that from now on, we are going to be having a chamber board member here once a month at the city council meeting to present to the board, the city council, our plans, what we're doing in the next month, anything that comes up that we want you to know about or you need to know about, we're going to let you know what's going on. We want full transparency so that you guys know what the chamber's doing. And we would also like, if there's any problem that the city sees with the chamber, that they would let us know so we can work on it. We cannot fix things if we don't know. So going forward, we're hoping to have open communication and transparency so things can change. We will be having a member mixer on February 26th from 5 to 7. That will be hosted by Mark Rowley at the Mossbury Hotel. And we would like to have as many of you present as can be. That would be lovely. This is a meeting to let the businesses get to know each other and for the chamber to also listen to the businesses and find out what they want. We want to unite, second Saturday, chamber, city, all working towards the same goal.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
We're out of time. I'd like two things real quick so everyone can know them. What was the date again and time for that mixer?
February 26th.
February 26th.
5 to 7 at the Mossbury Motel.
All right, and then the second thing, if anyone out there is interested in taking on this part-time chamber executive role, how would they apply?
We will be having an ad going out, and so.
So look to have an ad come out.
Okay.
You know the time frame?
We're going to run it for at least a month, and then I think we will start.
Next week.
Yeah, next week it's going to go out, and then we'll run it for about a
All
month.
right, thank you so much.
Would you pass
Congratulations
this
on
down,
your
please?
presidency.
Thank
Any
you.
further public comment at this time?
Great. Congratulations on the chamber. That's good that we're getting it going. I wanted to, Mark Juarez, P744 Dunsmuir Avenue. We're doing some things in a way to hopefully, as the chamber is starting also to stimulate business in Dunsmuir. We have now tenants for the California Theater, so we're getting the theater back up again, which is really exciting. And we're also bringing in people that are interested, and we're now in discussion, for which I have a note for the council members. But we're bringing in movie people that want to be making movies here, and Dunsmuir is ideal for that in many ways. We were approached with this with the theater several years ago, but unfortunately it never happened. Now it looks like it's happening. The same people approached us many years ago. We put them together with some new people from Hollywood. And we now have some real excitement about the idea of the possibilities in this town. And our hope is that this can really help stimulate the economy in a really positive way. We've studied towns about where movies are being made, and it's had a tremendously positive impact on those towns. So we're excited about that. And I would like to get a letter from the people James.
Yes, if you could, Julie, to our city clerk.
And you come to copies to John.
6 or 7.
Okay.
Page 13. Excellent. And that's it. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Is there any further public comment at this time for items not on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move into council and staff comments. We could begin with Sergeant Westside.
No, nothing to report.
All right, thank you. Finance Director Blake.
No, nothing to report over here.
Oh, all right.
All right. Seeing no staff comment, council comment. Councilman Deutsch?
I'm just gonna say no comment also as well, so.
Councilman Art?
Well, I'm obviously pleased with the renaissance of the Dunsmuir Chamber of Commerce, thanks to everybody that is involved in it. The mayor is not here tonight. I know the mayor had some concerns about what a partnership with the city looks like. And Matthew chairs our finance committee, Citizen Foreman, as well as Dennis are on the finance committee. And we do not want a repeat of last year. So we want to work with everyone seeking community funding with the notion there will be a focus on metrics. We will give you city money if you tell us how you're going to benefit the community, and that's the discussion I hope we have in the months ahead. Thank you very much for stepping up.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Pezzik?
Okay, first of all, I would like to reiterate and remind general public that there is a job position open. The glue, Miss Julie Iskra will be leaving us very shortly. Very, very shortly. I know the rest were like, but anyway, we're seeking applications from people that might be interested in being the next glue. Anyway, so that being out there, please, if you're interested or if you know anybody, we're looking for somebody to take over for Julie.
And how does one apply?
They get a hold of Julie. You like that? That was good. Okay, I would like to also congratulate you guys for your positions, the promotions, however you want to look at it. I'm glad you guys are there doing, I think they got the right people in the right spots. Okay, so, and I do look forward to working with the chamber, and you know me, whatever you need, just let me know, okay? And then, I also want to congratulate Ms. Cindy, because she's my Rotarian president coming up, and I'm looking forward to serving under you. As people, some of you people might know and don't know, the espresso that was down at the Travel Lodge moved up to the brewery.
Up and running.
Up and running. And I talked to them today, I said, how do you guys feel about the move? And they said they're doing a lot more business. So I would cordially, if you've never had a breakfast burrito, please, we have to check that one out. Pretty good. And then I'm looking for cedar, like cedar boards. I'm going to be doing the birdhouse project with both Dunsmuir Elementary School and Castle Rock. And so I don't need a lot of boards, but if anybody's got some old fence boards, cedar, that's what I'd like to make them out of. Just give me a call, 925-9365, that'd be me. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I would like to thank everyone for coming here tonight. This is a very well-attended meeting, I think, for diverse issues going on in Dunsmuir. This is an exciting year for us. We're trying to right the ship when it comes to our general fund and support our community everywhere it needs support. And I certainly feel that community with this sort of attendance. I'd like to thank the public comment on the treasurer attending these meetings, but just generally endorse that for anyone. If you want to be more involved, there's a lot of ways to do that. It seems kind of slow at times, and these meetings have to be run a certain way for government standards, for transparency. And that's not necessarily the most fun way to interact or get something done in an evening. But I commend you guys for your patience, and thank you for coming. The only thing I have is in a committee report beyond that. So I'd like to move forward to committee reports. Is there any committees that met?
No, I was planning on getting together with Todd and Julianne and lining up an airport meeting, but they're not here, so I'll wait until they get back to plan on that.
But I'm still waiting for Juliana with the railroad about Osprey.
Okay. The Finance Committee did meet. We met last Monday. No official recommendations, but we continued the mid-year budget review. Very important for projecting forward, especially for our deficit. And we dealt specifically with the water, sewer, and solid waste funds. Kind of looked at them. We just passed an increase for sewer and solid waste this spring. Water had been taken care of 3 years before that. And the only thing we have to report that generally speaking, water is doing very well, maybe slightly higher than projected. Sewer has a real concerning, well, we're not bringing in nearly as much revenue even with the increases as anticipated, but it's still only 6 months in. We'll see how some adjustments work. And solid waste seems overall on track.
Good.
We didn't consider anything else, but the Finance Committee will be meeting February 16th, I believe, or no?
It's the Wednesday before the 3rd.
We'll be meeting the Wednesday before the City Council meeting.
Yep.
And
19th.
on the agenda will be the airport as an enterprise fund, as well as an overview of community promotions this year. We adopted new procedure and process this October for them, kind of updated it. But we'll be reviewing that at that Finance Committee meeting. So if you guys have a particular organization you're involved with that is interested in receiving funds from the city through the Community Promotions Program, I would advise you to attend, to just lay out the timetable for this year's application process. All right. Let's move forward to the consent or approval of the minutes.
Mr. Vice Mayor?
Yes.
When we look at the minutes, our next item, we will see that Mayor Lucchese did plan that in January, the month that's gone by, we would have addressed the committee situation. And when I say the committee situation, if we look at the committee structure we adopted a year ago, there's any number of committees that are non-functional. And the mayor wanted to consider ad hoc meeting, ad hoc committees. And so I simply hope that for our next meeting, we will actually agree on which committees we're going to.
I appreciate the comment. Let's hold off on consideration of that till consideration of future agenda items. But I do believe it is important to revisit that.
Well, it's sort of a past agenda item that we're letting slip.
Appreciate it. Thank you. The approval of the minutes for December 19th, 2019.
I make a motion to adopt, approve the minutes.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
What little discussion?
Oh, sorry. Discussion.
The minutes show Councilmember Arthur's absent, even though I voted on all the items.
How'd you do that?
Well, actually, I was here. So I would ask without objection that I be moved from absent to present.
Miss Julie has her hand up, sir.
Just a notation under item number 3, flag salute. It shows that you did arrive late due to emergency vehicles blocking Dunsmuir Avenue.
Yeah.
So that's why it was in sequential order.
I just don't want to be shown as absent. I wasn't
I
absent.
will amend my motion to,
Well,
oh, well then amend it, and I'll second it.
no, you amended it.
Okay. I amend my motion to include that Mr. Arthur was present,
Well,
did arrive late.
yeah, I mean, the public record here does already state that you're here at 6:45, or sorry, 6:05 when you did in fact arrive. I think it's fairly transparent. But if you want to do,
I was not absent.
you were not absent from the meeting, you were absent from the roll call, which is all that's stated there. And then at 6:05, in public record here, it says, Arthur arrived late due to emergency vehicles blocking Dunsmuir Avenue. Seems like this is more accurate than the proposal of that, but I'm comfortable with either way. This to me appears very accurate to the situation.
Well, I missed no substantive part of the meeting, and I don't want to be shown as absent.
Very much so. It shows that you arrived between roll call and flag salute. So, if you'd like to proceed with the motion.
He wasn't here, he was here. Let's just make a motion to amend it to where he was here, arrived late, but he
All
was
those in
here.
favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against? Nay?
There you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Let's move forward to the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question.
Yes?
I would like to address Blake. Blake,
Do you have a question about one of the items on the consent agenda?
if the treasurer asked me we should take that off, either talk about it or table it.
Well, could you?
Item B you're referring to, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, pull it, let's pull it and discuss it.
You have discussed
A
that?
recommendation to pull item B.
Oh, I guess maybe that's why.
Because I do have a slight change I want to ask.
That's
or propose
something
as well.
about it. Okay, so I would like to, I want to take off item B, and I'd like to place it as new business item A. And,
It could go old business.
okay,
Whatever.
we'll go old business item B.
Second.
And if that's the case, then I'll make a motion to adopt the consent agenda as amended.
There's been a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Of removing item B on consent agenda to item 11B, old business.
Thank you.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carries.
I move we adopt the consent agenda.
There's a
As
motion
amended.
to adopt the consent
I'll
agenda.
second it.
as amended. Seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, let us proceed with our public hearing for tonight. And it's a very important piece of work in Dunsmuir City's situation. We are here to consider the abandoned and distressed real property ordinance, Ordinance 565, that was reviewed by the Planning Commission in early December. It included the recommendation to accept it. It's been edited since, but if staff could begin.
Sure, so this was with the help of another city to create this ordinance. As you said, it has gone to Planning Commission to start, and so Planning Commissioner or Planner Rico Tinsman would be the more appropriate version, but he is sick tonight. So, in essence, this is the abandoned and distressed real property ordinance. In the staff report, it gives you the project summary.
Let me read that out.
Sure.
The project is a proposed ordinance that would establish uniform and reasonable regulations to prevent the immediate risks and detrimental effects associated with abandoned and distressed real properties. This would be accomplished through 1, the creation of a registry, and 2, identification of properties and parties that must register, registration requirements and procedures, property maintenance requirements, a fee structure, and penalties for failing to comply. The other general information here on the staff report is this is a citywide ordinance. All residential and commercial land use designations. So this could apply to abandoned houses that are in utter disrepair, as well as empty buildings commercially zoned on some of the main avenues. And then, I believe it was Planning Commission December 11th adopted a resolution adopting that. There have been some alterations since then, I believe.
Right, and you can see that in your staff report. It'll show the line items in red, the amended changes that went through Planning Commission. You'll see that. And then further, it was noticed in the paper. And so this would be the first reading tonight. And up to council's discretion, a second reading would ensue. And then further than that, it can be adopted after placing in the paper and so forth.
Yeah, and
So that's the procedures.
And to give some background on this, a very capable mayor, who's herself a professional planner, this was one of her main priorities from the beginning, to update some of our ordinances to better represent our goals here in the city. One being to clean up these misused or entirely abandoned properties. And it was also the recommendation of our city planner, Rico Tinsman, who unfortunately caught some sort of flu or cold tonight, so he can't be with us to clarify the situation.
But I am here for any of your questions, and if there are questions from the public comment section, then we will definitely mark those down and get back to this. But again, it's
Let's
just
open
first
it up to
reading.
council questions. Council questions first. Clarification questions. Councilman Art.
Well, I have two questions, but I'm happy to defer them to when Rico is here and the city manager is here. Question one is, how will this ordinance fit in with the existing historic district ordinance in terms of the overall enforcement approach? The historic district ordinance we already have has special protective provisions to maintain the historic district. Is this an add-on to that? Does this supplant that? How do they work together? If
Sure.
we adopt this,
We can definitely ask that. I would just point out is the abandoned and distressed real property ordinance.
So to be clear, there was an ordinance in place and we're updating the contents?
There was no abandoned and distressed real property ordinance. So this adds this in,
there is a historic district oversight ordinance.
and that could stay in effect.
And what I read is if I look at 9.14.090 in the new ordinance, it says this is a new remedy that is cumulative to the existing remedies. So the answer I hope to hear is this simply strengthens rather than replacing the historic district ordinance.
And it does seem
Right,
like,
fully my understanding that this is an addition, no, it doesn't replace.
They live alongside each other is what you're saying, right?
It is, and right alongside all the other ordinances in our code.
And it's obviously important because the city is going to administer the sum of the two. We have a new code enforcement officer, and so that's fine for now. My other question is, does this ordinance in requiring owners of abandoned and underused buildings to clean them up, does that include junked cars? Because there are several properties that are candidates for this ordinance where non-operative junk cars sit on the properties.
That would still be under the existing role of the code enforcement officer. They roll around and then you have them towed.
well, I believe two parts of this ordinance kind of come together to give it power. If we go to 9.14.080, administration, the city manager may issue rules and regulations for the administration of the provisions of this chapter. So it's going to be set up how it will function in the day-to-day by the city manager, and even rules can be put into place to implement this. The other thing is in section 9.14.060, requirements for owners. There's many references to complying to state, federal, local law, and to our codes. I believe there's one in there where it says, in the inspection process, where is it? You have to be up to code according to all of Dunsmuir's ordinances.
Yeah, that's item F, under 060. But there's also, provide that yards are maintained to the neighborhood standard. So if there are cars within the parcel, then that would seem to me that would lie in that where it's not the neighborhood standard. But then further evidence of vacancy defined, accumulation of trash. So,
No, and of course, the other vector is this council, God bless us all, has tried to make our community more fire safe. So we now have a vegetation ordinance that requires everybody to deal with vegetation on their property. So these all have to fit together. And I agree with the vice mayor, it's going to take, the last thing we want to do is make residents angry and businesses angry that we don't know what you're asking of us and the sanctions, and is it going to be the carrot or is it going to be the stick?
One thing I think should be explained to everybody, so it's clear that while this does look at residences, it does say that if you're getting ready to rent it or sell it, as long as you can show that you're in the process of renting or selling, then you don't have to consider it abandoned, but you have to register, is that right? You still have to register, right? If somebody is just renting, and somebody moves out and they rent to somebody new into that house, do they have to go through the process of registering for that period of time?
So anytime that it's abandoned or distressed, you would have to register. So if it's occupied, right, and according to the things, it's either abandoned or distressed.
And it wouldn't be the tenant, it would be the owner of record or an authorized agent of the owner of record,
Absolutely.
according to the ordinance.
Yeah, good question.
Any further clarification questions from council?
Do you want a motion before public comment or after?
Or we're going to do public comment, discussion, and then a motion to read, if there is one. No further questions from council. I do have a few questions that are going to be easy to be cleared up personally, but I think our planner probably would be better able to describe what parts of these are standard for cities, what he's done to particularly apply to our situation. I just want a healthier understanding of that. That being said, let us now open this item up to public comment. It's the first reading of ordinance 565, abandoned and distressed real property. Again, you can come up to the podium and you will have 3 minutes to speak on the subject. Please give your name to the...
Mayor, council members, my name is Rick Chan. I live in 6121 Butterfly Avenue. I had just a few questions, as I had not read the ordinance. And a lot of it is how you qualify, what would fall into this ordinance by saying it's abandoned or in bad shape, and what qualifies for non-residents. If a person owns more than one property but does not reside in both, say it has a guest house or whatever, would that fall under a possible abandonment, or would it be considered being lived in simultaneously? And also, would this, in terms of the penalty phase, be addressed in the same way where the person goes under arbitration with the city and or to the courts? Those are just a couple of questions, but there will be more following. Can you answer that?
We don't answer questions at this stage. Those are all very good questions. I appreciate it. And I do advise you to read the ordinance. They're all laid out there.
And I know that it's not possible to completely identify, qualify, and quantify everything, because every property may be a little bit different. So the devil's in the details. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
I actually have a question, Paris Patrick, sorry. If there is a business building that is distressed and is being rented, and it is out of code, how does that work in the distressed if there is an actual renter, whether it be new or old? And so that is my question, because I do know that there are a few, so thank you.
Thank you. Any further public comment on this item?
I don't live in Dunsmuir anymore, but it's close to my heart, and I might move back at some point soon. But I would like you guys to consider.
If you could please state your name.
My name is
Your current
Yvonne
address.
Jurgens. And what else?
And your current address for the record.
My current address, I'm in McLeod, 541 McLeod. Sorry, I'm really nervous, but I would like you guys to keep into consideration when someone keeps renting places out that are not safe to be at, and they constantly are moving people through in situations on this main street where they don't have heat. There's mold in the building, things have not been renovated, there isn't new carpets, and the list goes on and on and on of water problems, and I just think that needs to be taken into consideration, that there are folks in this room right now that are doing that, and so that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Any further public comment on this item?
My name is Linda Shaven. I live in Masson Avenue. And I just want to say that this is really smart policy and that I'm very supportive of this. I hope that you really consider it. It's something the city needs. And we all know that the longer a property goes vacant, the more likely the effects will be damaging to both our economic health and the public safety as well. Vacant and abandoned properties can breed dumping, hazardous building conditions, drug activity, and other crimes. And I think a lot of us have seen that here. It can threaten the health and safety of neighbors. It imposes significant economic costs on the larger community by lowering property values and requiring costly code and sheriff enforcement. And they're also an unwelcome sight to visitors and residents alike. And really, hundreds of towns and cities and counties across the United States have enacted these vacant property registration ordinances. So I really think this is a good thing. And I want to say that this is something that the city needs, and it really goes a long way to begin eliminating what this vacant building problem that some of us believe has been a plague of Dunsmuir for a decade or more. So thank you for considering this. And I think for the public, it's really good to consider that this is really about the blatant abandoned and distressed property. I don't think people need to be worried that if they have a grandmother unit or a second place, if we're keeping that up. I used to have a home up here for 10 years and I lived in Reading, but I kept up the home. I came up once a month, 2 times a month, and I kept it up. I got to know my neighbors, and even though I wasn't living there, I was maintaining it. So I think if we all try to maintain our properties, we're not going to be fined with or be labeled an abandoned building. It's obvious that someone's there maintaining property. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there any further public comment at this time? Any takers? All right. Seeing none, we will close public comment on this public hearing tonight and move forward to discussion among council.
Mr. Mayor, let me point out real quick to the environmental aspect of this thing. I think it's important because there's not substantial evidence that we don't really need to go through the CEQA procedures. So I just wanted to point that out
Okay.
in the staff report.
And I'd like to say in response generally to some of the concerns and the questions that the ordinance is very thorough and it allows first for registration of an abandoned building or distressed building. And we are talking about not empty buildings on their own, but buildings that are unoccupied or seem unoccupied. So if you maintain a building as if it's occupied, use it partially, that plays into it. And it's a stage where first you register, and that's one fee if you have an abandoned building. Once you're on that registry, inspections will take place, and you have to bring your property back into compliance. If you do not, then it'll get further and further, and the fines do increase dramatically if you don't take action. But the time frame's laid out. People are given 60 days to make meaningful changes relative to this, and the city manager is allowed some discretion in helping people. They're able to set due dates relative to the task needed. So if it's something that maybe couldn't be done, you can't find a contractor to do a certain work in that time frame, there is enough flexibility, but at the same time, it's designed so that if you persist, if property owners persist in having blights or public nuisance in their buildings, that eventually the fines do increase to the point where it may inspire some action.
Mr. Mayor, are you ready for a motion?
I'm ready for discussion first.
Comments get a little bit?
No, it is not, it's close, but thank you.
All right, good. Can we read what the definition of abandoned distressed is? It's in the ordinance. I'm trying to find it. Do you have it handy?
Yeah, well, it's 9.14.020.
Good.
the second page, or page 16 in your agenda packet. Abandoned means real property that has been vacant for a period of 6 consecutive months or longer.
So you see, that doesn't really enter into short-term problems. It's a longer-term problem that we're looking at there. Go ahead.
And distressed means real property that is abandoned or, if occupied, a property in which at least 40% of the gross floor area of the principal building or structure is vacant.
So the discussion I'd like to offer is that it really, I think, is clear that we're talking about two different realms. One is the code enforcement, which deals with abandoned cars and all kinds of problems, and that is the normal operation. But when something goes to the point where it gets to be abandoned or distressed, which doesn't happen overnight, it takes a period of time, at that point this kicks in. So the normal world is code enforcement, and we do have a new code enforcement officer that'll be working. And then this is the second one that deals with long-term problems with abandoned buildings. So that's all I'd like to say in terms of my thoughts on it.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Well, I would just like to say two thank yous. One is to our colleagues that govern the city of Reed. The ordinance that we're considering tonight looks quite similar to an ordinance that was described to us as being on the books in the city of Weed for some time, and they dusted it off and started to use it to deal with the number of empty buildings in the city of Weed and to revitalize their downtown. And they've gotten wonderful cooperation from the Weed City Council, from the Weed City Manager, from legal counsel to the city of Weed, and they were very helpful with our city manager, with all of us on the council, so we didn't have to reinvent the wheel and spend another year addressing this problem. My second thanks is to the Dunsmuir Planning Commission, who gave this proposed ordinance a very thoughtful hearing and unanimously voted to recommend that we support it.
I'm ready to make a motion.
Your motion.
I move to introduce and hold first reading of ordinance 565 by title only. Ordinance 565, an ordinance of the City of Dunsmuir, City Council adding chapter 9.14, abandoned and distressed real property to the Dunsmuir Municipal Code.
I second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion again? Given the occasion, let's do a roll call vote.
I agree.
Councilmember Dozier?
Yes.
Councilmember Kaiser?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Aye.
And Vice Mayor White?
Aye.
So just so everyone realizes, this won't go into effect until after we do a second reading and then a period of time, but it's the first step forward.
And that being said, I do encourage everyone, this is a very important tool that we're giving our city to help regulate itself and deal with some very horrible issues, whether it's fire or economic distress when vacant buildings get out of hand. But the text will be available at City Hall or on our website, correct? To read it before the next council meeting in 2 weeks. There'll be another opportunity for public comment, and the public comment tonight was so insightful in terms of the questions that were being asked. If you guys could look at it further and maybe come back with more feedback.
Mr. Mayor? Just so folks know, if you want to see a copy of it, if you go to the agenda for this meeting, you can see where the agendas are for the meeting. The ordinance is in the agenda for this meeting. You can download it and look at it online at any time.
All that having passed, I will close the public hearing at 6:50. We'll move on to item 10, there is no new business. We'll move on to item 11, old business. Item A, discussion and possible action regarding public works loader.
Okay, thank you. We do have our Public Works Director in attendance tonight. Bill Wilman is there. So he has provided some further information. I don't know if he wants to speak about it right now, but further information
Would you
is...
please come up and give us an idea of what our timeframes are?
And thank you for coming here and telling us yourself. We
Well,
appreciate
no
it.
problem. Bill Willman, 104 Wells Lane, City of Dunsmuir Public Works. Basically, in a nutshell,
Can you speak into the mic, please?
oh, sorry. Basically, in a nutshell, we were close to going out of compliance on our vehicles, the loader and the backhoe. And part of that reason was when they went in and did an update in their system, they moved everything to Tier 1, when in reality, we had one Tier 2 engine and two Tier 1s. And that's what the initial rush was, to try to fix that problem. Upon digging into it deeper, I discovered that they had us a wrong tiered with the backhoe down at the treatment plant down there. So that, in effect, put us good through the end of this year. Doing more digging, we looked at possible replacing equipment, getting funding for replacing equipment. Nothing was flying for us. We couldn't do a retrofit, engine retrofit, because the machines are too old, the computer systems don't match up, they're just not good. We can't do an exhaust retrofit because it's only going to buy us a couple of years, and then you're still going to be looking at replacing a piece of equipment. So basically what I did, we now have our backhoe in permanent low use, which has extended our time frame for meeting the requirements out to the end of 2023. If we decide to then, we can also do the loader, same thing, permanent low use, which will extend us out to 2028. So in effect, we got more time to work on this than initially thought. That's the best we can do. Going permanent low use, you're limited to 200 hours a year. I went all the way back to when we bought the machines, and one's 18, one is 20 years old. I believe the backhoe was about 136 hours a year average, and the loader was right around 160. And again, some years are going to be more, some years are going to be less. But that was the best option available for us to buy us some time. By going permanent low use, we get best available control technology credits, which is based on horsepower. And by taking the loader out of the equation, it's no longer counted. So that's what bought us the next 2-3 years.
Good job.
Yeah.
On a more practical note, thank you so much for coming and discussing this with us tonight. Is the equipment itself in danger of falling apart, being old?
No.
Capital improvements a real thing, and sometimes vehicles get
Yeah,
out.
this is something that frankly has needed to be addressed for a long time. At the end of 15, 20 years with a heavy piece of equipment, just by the nature of the work that it does for us, it should probably be considered being replaced, or at least some plan in place to replace them.
Which will come first, in your opinion?
Right now, with the backhoe and permanent low use, that would be my first choice.
Okay.
The loader, we just did a major service on, and I mean, I can't speak what's going to happen tomorrow, but hopefully we're good to go for a while on that one. And the good thing about permanent low use is that if we can't make any movements within the 8-year period, as long as we don't go over that 200-hour limit, we're good to go. You can keep the equipment as long as you want to. So as far as time frame is concerned, there is none anymore.
But we can't, I mean, we are still in danger in the near future of perhaps, practically speaking, having a failing loader and backhoe.
Oh, of course, yeah. Yeah, you're looking at one that's 18 and another that's 21. The backhoe's 20. It's a 1999.
Have you done any preliminary research into the replacement costs?
I've been working with Blake. We kind of got the ball rolling. So yes, in answer to your question, yes. Yeah, it ain't gonna be cheap, so.
I appreciate you coming tonight and sharing that with us. If maybe after the budget's done for the next year, so sometime in the summer, if you could maybe attend a finance committee workshop to go over capital replacement.
Yeah, I would appreciate that. I was unaware that there was a meeting last Thursday, hence my report to Todd was late. which was in the packet, and you can see we kind of addressed all the issues that we're discussing right now. So, yeah, well, it's kind of hodgepodge, but it was thrown together real quick.
Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate you tonight.
Bill, the question I have, just want to clarify. So basically, there's two calendars we're looking at. One calendar has to do with the life of the equipment, whether it's going to break, and we're in the sense that we can extend that for a while. The other has to do with regulations, which deals with how much diesel fumes we can put into the air at any given year. Is that right? Hours?
Exactly, yeah. It's all about emissions. And right now, over the course of time, it's at 6.4, I think, right now. By 2028 or 29, we're supposed to be down to 1.6 or 8, I think. It's just a steady drop over the course of time.
So what you did was taking the loader route then?
The backhoe.
The numbers to make our...
Exactly. It's not counted, and that's what got us through to 2023.
Okay.
So, and at the end of 2023, if there's nothing in place to replace either piece of equipment, we do the same thing with the loader, and we'll get credits.
But to clarify what you were thinking, that's the emission standards. We bought ourselves some time with that. The actual practical side of it, we could be facing both need to be replaced in the next 2-3 years.
Exactly. Yeah, and Blake and I have kind of started working on that, and we're going to run with the backhoe first down at Public Works. So, and yeah.
Mr. Recognize Councilman Casa.
Bill, I just want to thank you for all your work and everything you do.
You're
Your
welcome.
staff, you guys are top notch, and I know some
We
of the
try.
things that you've been doing lately, you know, the water lines popping and breaking, and,
Yeah.
you know, I commend you. And as a council member and as a Dunsmuirite, thanks for doing what you do. I appreciate it.
It's been my pleasure and our department's pleasure.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
And if anybody has any questions, don't hesitate to touch bases with me. I'm usually at the shop, or you can call me on the phone, and City Hall knows where to find me most of the time.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Public comment on this, I guess.
Well, there's no action.
It was just discussion.
Just discussion. But yeah, if anyone would like to come up and do a public comment, we can allot the 3 minutes per person regarding the loader replacement or loader situation.
Hello again, Rick Schaff, same place. Just a quick question. Have you considered the feasibility of propane? Because its emissions are a lot less odious. I know that a lot of vehicles have been retrofitted with propane in other municipalities. I just don't know if it's feasible for this kind of loader. But it might be something to look down the road, because compliance is going to get more and more strict as our environment degrades. Just a comment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any further public comment on the loader situation update? Seeing none, we'll close this item and proceed to old business 11A or 11B as amended. That is resolution 2020-01, airport hangar lease and rent increase. Blake, do you want to begin?
Yeah, so thanks for moving this off consent. One, there was some concern that we wanted to put it on for a public discussion again, just because it is a fee increase or a Schedule A fee increase. And so therefore giving an opportunity, but I just want to mention that at the last meeting, you guys did motion and approve 5-0 to increase the rates. So just throwing it out there. But we wanted to kind of establish with a resolution for you all, if so you desire to resolve to adopt Schedule A. So you see Schedule A in your packet, which does include the increased rates with the exception of Hangar A.
2 of them, was there 2 of them that were long-term? Do we believe that?
Yes, but the other Hangar B, what has Schedule A on your packet has the already increased rate.
Okay.
So Hangars B through H are all $288 per month. So that's all correct on your current Schedule A. But I would like to have you, if you guys desire, if you approve it, have hangar A now equal 560 per month. That's the new 20 cent per square foot rate for hangar A. So your current Schedule A shows 342, which is the current rate.
But you wanted to say 560.
Exactly. For both aviation and commercial.
Have we given any look into the office space and how we're dealing with the rental of that office space in that one?
Hangar A is the main office.
But I mean, right now, we've been renting that as a separate rental item to them with the idea in mind that we wanted to be able to turn it into a pilot's lounge if we had the opportunity down the line.
So this one is the long-term lease that can be discussed in the future. But great question. It can be discussed.
A does not have the office hallway or restroom spaces.
Right. So hangar A is just a hangar. So there is another fee for the office space.
Okay.
Yeah, so we can discuss those.
So any more clarifying questions from council on this item? Seeing none, we'll open it up to public comment. Everyone's allowed for 3 minutes. If anyone would like to come up, I encourage you to do so at this juncture. Seeing no public comment, I will now close public comment and open it up to discussion.
So you're asking us to adopt this schedule as resolution 20-01. And that was the, what? 2020-01.
Yeah.
Okay? And with the modifications, that hangar A, as noted, has been increased from 342 to 560 for both aviation and commercial.
Perfect.
Did I state that correctly?
Perfect.
Okay? If that's the case, then I make a motion if we're ready.
Is there any further discussion?
Okay? I make a motion to adopt resolution 2020-01, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Dunsmuir adopting fees and charges for use of property and facilities at the Dunsmuir Mott Airport.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. As the fee increase, we'll do a roll call vote.
Councilmember Deutsch?
Aye.
Councilmember Art?
Aye.
Councilmember Keisler?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Bryan?
Aye. Motion carries. 4 ayes, 1 absent.
I'd like to thank staff for doing the work on that, bringing the clarifications to us.
Well, I think
Good job.
I think more specifically, we need to thank Myra. Manya, I'm sorry, Myra. For really pushing this.
Manya Rocket, yes, indeed.
Now let's move on to item 12, future agenda items and topics. Per our protocol, if there's general consensus, we can put it on a list to put it on a future agenda. But even with just one person asking and a second, we'll go on a future agenda.
Well, on that note, he mentioned committees. I'm seconding it. Committees should be discussed
All right.
and shuffled, discussed, laid out, figured out, whatever, but we need to start doing the work.
Yeah.
I mean, that we haven't had a meeting in a minute, and I have to concur with Mr. Peter over there. So it should be on the next, meeting.
Okay. I have it on there. I don't know who's in the pre-agenda meeting
I don't know either.
currently, but since I'm chairing this meeting, I'll meet with the mayor and pass
Thanks,
along
sir.
items. Is there anything else for consideration?
Two things. I've talked with the mayor about having a ribbon cutting with Caltrans to kind of say thank you and all for the Dunsmuir grade project and getting through it, just kind of a closure. So she was going to call and talk to somebody about that, probably via.
Okay.
The second item, the health service, the County Health Services has not asked, but they would like to come and talk to the council about smoke, secondhand, thirdhand smoke and ordinances, possible ordinances. So it would be a presentation and just give us information if we as a council want to do something about that. I think Mount Shasta just did something in that round. but I'd like to see if we can get that presentation here.
All right, well, our presentation time for next time hopefully will be taken up by our annual sheriff's contract report, but yes, I appreciate that. Any further?
I would like to make aware to people, over here in the parking lot, they got, at City Hall, I'm not sure the dates or the Wednesdays, is it every Wednesday? The county?
I don't know. The schedule is on the board. just-
Okay, there's a schedule on the board. These people show up and you'd be amazed at what they have on their little trailer for you, what they have to offer you.
Who are they?
It's from the county and it's the health
Public health.
services. It's the county health services. Public health. Everything from toothbrushes to information about how you get a bus pass. They got, come out, at least say hi and see what they got to offer. I cordially encourage everybody to come check it out because there's probably something there that you could use. So, and then they're gonna be, they're coming up, I don't know the date, but they're gonna have, which is pretty cool, at the elementary school, they got, I think it's dinner with the principal. And that the same day, that thing will be in front of the library. I'm sorry that I don't have the date, but these are things that are coming up. And it's a really cool, it's like an RV with stuff that they give you. So come get your stuff.
What date did you say? What's the
I
date?
just said I don't know the date, and I even apologize for not knowing the date. Bad reporter, you're the reporter. I don't know the date. I'm just telling you it's coming up. Does anybody know the date?
No, when they come monthly here, do you know the date that they're monthly?
We could, the schedule's over there.
Schedule on the-
We'll have to clarify
I'll
later.
email it to you, no problem.
All right, any future agenda items to discuss? Councilman Ahmed?
Mr. Chairman, I have 3 items, 1 and 2 are interrelated. And I'm looking at Linda Scheidman, who chairs our Disaster Preparedness Committee. I thought the Green Waste Day that the community came together around was a good first step to making our community more fire safe. And I would like to see, we discussed this in Finance Committee this week, at least 4 of those throughout the last part of this fiscal year, which ends July 1, and then there's a new fiscal year. So is it possible for the fire chief and the citizen committee and the city manager to get together and cost out what it would look like so we could prepare the budget?
I think we could just request that the committee perhaps look into what would make most sense time-wise, and then coordinate with city staff on available
Well, your
funds.
suggestion was to raise it here with the notion, I would like this to be something the city council was behind as a cost-effective way to help make our community more fire safe.
I'll second it as well.
I'm on board with you. I think we owe it to ourselves to do a reach out and include Ed Dunsmuir from the county, just to see what kind of assistance we could get, because Ed's been kicking butt lately. He's doing really good on a lot of things, on a lot of fronts, so that works.
We're channeling each other because that brings me to item 2. Oh,
Just future agenda for council.
that brings me to item 2, which is if we all look at the goals and objectives the council set for the 2019-2020 budget, one of them deals with our waste hauler, Clemens. And for those of us that plotted through the resetting of the solid waste rates over the next 5 years, Pace Engineering said green wasting and that sort of thing is beyond the ambit of what we're doing. But as a community, we need to have a discussion, if we're going to stick with Clemens, as to what the role of Public Works is with their equipment, what the role of Clemens is with their equipment. Ed Valenzuela is very bullish on regional approaches to dealing with solid waste disposal. but we are way behind the ball in negotiating either a new one-year patch contract or more the 5-year vision type contract.
Well, I'd like to interject here for a second. This is the proper role of the city manager to be doing that. Let's wait and hear from him on what the status of his negotiations are.
Could we get a report at our next
Yeah,
meeting?
can we request a report from the city manager?
Because there's no way to budget without knowing what we're budgeting for.
Yeah, and he knows that it's coming up. This year, generally speaking, we're trying to start the budgeting process a lot earlier. But with city manager turnover last year, it was difficult and we got a little behind. In light of that, all these things need to be discussed now because they'll be worked into our expectations in the next 2 months.
And again, to me, it's apropos for an ad hoc committee rather than spending a lot of time at the council level. But I actually read a rather excellent article in our Western City magazine, League of California Cities.
Yeah, well, let's not get into the details of what we discussed about it.
Well, the notion is we have approximately 2 years as a city to start dealing with organic waste management. The state has requirements on communities, including ours, to deal with organic waste management. And there's funding available from 8 different sources to help us do that.
All right, is there any further agenda items to be considered?
The third item is
You had 3 already.
when Big Dave was mayor and I was sitting out in those seats worrying about the future of the historic district, we had a presentation by Ron McLeod about how deeply the historic district has suffered without an institution that's known as HUDMC, HDMC, the Historical District Management Committee. And Ron McLeod's testimony was the Historic District Management Committee protected the historic district for 20 years and then it fell apart. As you all know, whether you're on the planning commission or not, supposedly there are 2 members of our planning commission that are supposed to protect and advocate for the historic district, and that doesn't happen. So I would like to see a staff report and options. What I'd like to have is the meeting that never happened. We had all the planning commission members, we had the council, we agreed to a person, boy, we gotta do something, and we didn't do anything. So I would like to do at least an examination with the new abandoned building ordinance, with the traditional ordinances, with the code inspection officer. Now is the time. Our experience for those who were there, Helen Cartwright, Tim Holt, others.
Peter, describe what we're going to do.
We would like an agenda item for management of the historic district, including the reinstitution of the HDMC.
Okay. Is there a second on that?
I'll second that.
All right, there's a motion and a second. That'll go on the list. This is too much probably for one meeting, depending on what's coming up next. But we definitely need the committee structure going forward. Get a staff report. And we'll get a staff report on Clemens, update on where we're at with that. Green Waste Days and county health presentation at some point. Green Waste Days eventually, but in the near future because we're developing a budget. I have one item I'd like to propose as a future agenda item. Let's see if there's a second. I know very often we end these meetings with some turmoil regarding the airport because it loses a little bit of money each year, and that little bit can add up to quite a bit of a number, over decades. And the real frustration, even if it doesn't lose money, is that it's just in limbo. The city understands this and has approached it many different ways in the past. Most recently, when we passed our budget this summer, we only passed the budget with these priorities included. There were 4 items relating to the airport. And, it wasn't the time to bring it up beforehand, but we put a time frame that we come up with a plan for solvency, operational solvency for the airport by the next year's budget. And I think the airport committee took that on initially. And I guess what I'm coming back here simply is, if there is that plan, we need to see it probably in the next month or so, because the mid-year budget review, we're going to be looking at the airport next finance committee meeting. I just want to, I guess, discuss who is going to be responsible for that plan, because it's part of our priorities for this year, and we're 7, 8 months in. I'm happy to have it be the finance committee if no other body wants to take it on, but it could be the council that does the work themselves through workshops. It could be the airport committee, but are you guys open to putting discussion of those priorities? We could do all of them, but particularly those 4 with the airport. How about just a revisit of the priorities set by council? Is that something that could garner some support? Second. Councilmember Deutsch? Yes.
The reason I get so frustrated every time the airport comes up is because we have a very large budget, and we're talking about around $20,000, and we're working on reducing that. And when you say, why do we have a plan, it's because we have a city manager who pretty much has to do that by himself, working with the finance director and working with Manya. But the point is, we have to recognize that the city manager has a full slate. And if it's going to be done, it's going to be done by him, and it's going to be done by the airport committee. But the idea of keep bringing it up every time when slapping the dog.
I wasn't intending to bring it up again. This is a separate, we put a time frame on these, and the budget's being developed in the next month. And so I'm just bringing it up because it wasn't appropriate until now to bring it up. If the airport committee has something to present in the next month or 2, we're fine with that. I just would like to revisit it so someone can begin working on it, if they wouldn't.
But it is the city manager who's working on it.
And that's why I haven't been told that officially. That's why I'd like this item so that we can just revisit. And it's not just those 4. I do think it's healthy half year into this budget to review those priorities. We all agreed on them at the time, and a lot of them had due dates of by next year we do this. We were trying to build upon little small successes. Well, I don't mean to be contentious with the airport, and I know it's not solved immediately. It is operationally solvent, I believe, this year.
We're working towards it, and every step we take is going to make it better. But the idea is that we're not going to solve it overnight. It's a movement process, and I think that the office, the staff right now, has a really good handle on it. Between Todd, our city manager, and Manya, who has been doing an excellent job, we have the most energy right now going into it. So, I could go every single day into the city manager's office and complain that he didn't do something. I don't do it that way. I'm trusting.
That's not what's being proposed. What's being proposed is revisit where we're at with our goals from last summer that we all unanimously adopted.
Just increase rates too, so that's another.
Well, I'm not saying we haven't done things. We've cut it by, well, we'll discuss this later. Clearly, there's enough to discuss, and that's all we're considering at the current moment. And I didn't mean it to be contentious. I just think that
Good, 'cause I hate that airport.
Yeah, we all do.
I'm tired of talking about that.
Yeah, it is a small amount to be contentious, but, public funds are a real trust of city councilors hold.
I'll talk to the city manager and push him on this. And
We can just all share who's going to do the work. If the city staff doesn't have time,
the city
we'll work on
manager and the airport committee, that's what deals with the airport. We're planning on doing that. I'm planning on getting together with the Juliana, the mayor, who's a member of the airport committee.
Well, we'll discuss it next week. Okay? All right. Thank you so much. I'd like to congratulate the city of Dunsmuir on this first reading of the ordinance. It'll pass potentially next time. It's very, very important for the city. In general, California's philosophy when it comes to land usage is the highest and best usage of land is the best for the public good for the most people. And we're certainly observing that here, where if there's a building that's blight in town, it's difficult for all business owners, it's difficult for all the residents, it has ripple effects that are negative throughout the entire community. And my hope with this new ordinance, even though it may be painful to bring everyone into compliance in the first stage of this, eventually it'll be a safeguard against things getting too bad. 6 months into something being a problem, There'll be a discussion before the projects become too large and expensive to fix. So I hope we get to that point. I think this is an important first step. That being said, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Before we entertain a motion to adjourn, good job, buddy.
Yay!
I make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Good job, guys.